Hi everyone. How are you? Welcome to my video. I'm Dr. Stacy Shillington, and I am so excited about the topic that I'm going to be sharing with you today, and it is all about the sun. The benefits of the sun, the drawbacks of the sun, what may be contributing to all the sun damage that we're experiencing and all the cancers, and finally, how to have an amazing relationship with the sun that makes you feel amazing, look amazing. So let's get started. It is kind of starting to get a little sunny here in Toronto. We've had a really rough go of it. We've had a super tough winter, really a long winter. And I know so many people around town are just plain grumpy, and our moods are starting to lift a little bit because the sun is now out. And there is such a strong correlation between the two, and I can't wait to share that with you because it is so real. When there is no sun, when we are not getting what we need, our body really suffers. And we are creatures, we are organisms that are designed to benefit from the sun. We're designed to be exposed to the sun because there are so many ways the sun benefits the body. There are 5 main benefits of having our body exposed to the sun. The first one, of course, and we all know about this by now, and it is vitamin D production. So when you are exposed to sunlight, the skin, there's dietary cholesterol in the skin, that combines with UVB rays, and it makes vitamin D3 sulfate. That is the type of vitamin D that is produced in the skin. It's a water-soluble vitamin that's able to flow freely through our bodies, and almost every single organ, every single tissue in our body has receptors for vitamin D3. Our bodies get very, very ill without vitamin D3. Every single organ is affected. And just to let you know, it's estimated that 75 to 80% of all people out there are deficient in vitamin D. And when that happens, these health conditions can arise. Heart disease, hypertension, diabetes, multiple sclerosis, osteoporosis, age-related macular degeneration. I'm going to go to my sheet now because I can't remember everything. Asthma, depression, obesity, cognitive impairment, Parkinson's disease, fractures, falls, influenza. As you can see, almost every single system in the body is compromised when our vitamin D levels are low. And this research backs this up like crazy. There's abundant studies confirming this. So it's necessary for us to have enough vitamin D3. And you may say, yes, I'm supplementing. And that's fantastic because supplementation with vitamin D3, and it has to be vitamin D3, don't do vitamin D2 if your milk or almond milk says fortified with vitamin D. That's not the right type of vitamin D. You need to supplement with vitamin D3. But the problem with the supplemental vitamin D3 is that it's fat soluble, whereas the vitamin D that our actual body produces is water soluble. So the fat soluble vitamin is not able to flow through our body as freely, and that strongly impacts something, and I'm going to get to that in just a minute. But the point that I want to make right now is that vitamin D3 is crucial for our health on all levels in all systems. But that's not all. There's another thing that the sun produces in our body that's critical, and that is nitric oxide. And you may be familiar with nitric oxide. It's a spray that many people carry with them. If they have angina or if they're having a heart attack, they put this under the tongue. What it does is it causes blood vessels to dilate, so blood flows through the body with more ease. So when you produce nitric oxide naturally, you tend to have less incidences of hypertension, better cardiovascular function, and also research is showing that nitric oxide also influences our metabolism. So obesity may be linked with a deficiency in nitric oxide. Super interesting. That's the second thing the sun does. The third thing the sun does is that it is highly antimicrobial. So throughout history, people have used the sun as a massive disinfectant, and as you know, heliotherapy was actually a form of therapy used around the turn of the century to successfully treat tuberculosis and other infections. So the sun is highly antimicrobial. When vitamin D3 sulfate is formed in the body, it flows through the veins, and the sulfate part of the D3 actually acts as an antimicrobial. So it kills bacteria, it kills fungus. When we don't have that natural vitamin D produced in our body, we don't get the same antimicrobial effects. So that is the third thing that the sun does. And the fourth thing is that research is showing that the sun actually recharges our batteries. It forms ATP in our bodies. ATP is like, they're molecules of energy. And research is finding that when we have green pigments in our blood from eating food with high amounts of chlorophyll, like green plants, those green pigments actually they perform like photosynthesis in our blood, convert the sun's energy into a usable form of ATP. So the sun is like a battery for us. It recharges us. It gives us energy. This is amazing. There's so many great things the sun does, and I'm not even finished, because the sun also produces serotonin in our bodies. And as you may know, serotonin is our feel-good hormone. It's the hormone that prevents depression, that makes us feel great and calm. Without it, we experience seasonal affective disorder, which, you know, very tightly linked with sun exposure. And so can you guys believe everything that the sun does? It's just so imperative to our health. Just to recap, there's vitamin D production, there's nitric oxide production, there's antimicrobial activity, there's ATP production, and there's also serotonin production. Without the sun, our bodies are very deficient in some really important things. But the bottom line is that we are a sun-deprived culture. We are scared of the sun. We do not go out in the sun, and I'm a huge example of that. Look how white my skin is. I live in Canada. I do not see enough sun at all. And I really think I suffer from it. And I see my patients, I see the people around me, and I really think we suffer from not seeing enough sun. But then there's also the research that tells us that the sun is dangerous. And this research is really not refutable. The sun causes aging to our skin. And it causes wrinkles, it causes fine line, it causes hyperpigmentation. There are so many studies out there, and there's a direct link. It's happening. Also, actinic keratosis, that is directly related to the sun. It often shows up on sun-exposed areas. It's like kind of like a rough, feels like sandpaper kind of, and it's usually like a red or a darkened kind of patch. That's directly related to sun, and it can progress to squamous cell carcinoma. And the carcinomas, the squamous cell carcinoma and the basal cell carcinoma, they are related to UV exposure, but there's also been a 300% increase in these cancers since 1994. That number was actually reported in 2010, so who knows, it's probably even increasing even more at this point because incidences are not falling. So what is going on? Why is there a 300% increase in skin cancer? And is it really all due to UV radiation? And the research says yes, UV radiation is definitely, you know, part of the cause, but I think there's a little bit more to it than that, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Because the other drawback of the sun is, melanoma. And the cause of melanoma is not as clear-cut as squamous cell or basal cell carcinoma, because some studies have shown that, you know, even UV light in an office building, like from a lamp, can cause melanoma. It's not just from the sun itself. They find that people that have sunburns or intermittent exposure to the sun are more at risk. And they find that people that actually spend their lives laboring out in the sun, full exposure, are actually not at risk of getting melanoma. So it's so odd that there's, you know, actually it's not odd. When you look at the way that the body works, you can understand why that is. But, you know, it's interesting anyways. So what's going on? You know, that's my big question. As human beings, we are designed to live in the sun, to thrive in the sun. Clearly, our bodies are not able to survive well without the sun. So why is the sun so dangerous? And is the solution to completely avoid the sun and slather on sunscreen and wear dark glasses? Is that really the solution for the problem? And I've done a lot of research on this. I've done a lot of thinking about this. And my answer is that the sun is not entirely to blame for all the carcinomas that we're seeing, for all the melanomas that we're seeing. And I personally see that there's 4 things going on that's really leading to our bodies not interacting well with the sun. The first thing, and as a naturopathic doctor, I'm sure you're not going to be surprised when I say this, but the diet has a huge role to play in how our body interacts with the sun. So since 1994, cases of skin cancer have really gone up. And when you look at that, you know, compared to the increased consumption of sugar, you know, there's definitely a correlation between the two, but that's not all. I mean, the standard American diet has been, you know, it's really been embraced for many years now. And I think that that has a lot to do with the amount of antioxidants that are within our body. And studies have shown that pigments from foods that are high in an antioxidant value create an internal SPF protection factor for us. There was a study that was done with tomato paste, and they fed people a lot of tomato paste, and then they exposed them to the sun, and they found that the tolerance for the sun was much better. There was a reduction in wrinkles and a reduction in sun damage. So that study suggests that increasing our antioxidant intake is protective for us. It's a natural protection against what the sun could potentially do to our bodies. So I love that, and I find that hugely interesting. There is research out there that supports consuming whole food antioxidants as a way to mitigate sun damage. Now, actually taking antioxidants in supplemental form is not as successful, and some studies have actually shown that can lead to more cancer. So taking handfuls of antioxidant supplements is not the way to approach this. Instead, it's eating a whole foods diet. So that's one of the issues that I believe, and research is supporting, is contributing to the epidemic of sun cancers that we're experiencing. The other thing is chronic inflammation. I see a lot of patients, I know a lot of people, and I know chronic inflammation is rampant. We're all walking around with these inflamed bodies. And, you know, signs of an inflamed body are often a digestive system that's not working optimally. It's often dysbiosis, and research has shown that when there's dysbiosis in the body, which means more pathogenic microbes than beneficial microbes, which leads to an imbalance in the microbiome, this actually creates chronic inflammation in the body. And research has shown when there's inflammation in the body, cancer is more likely to progress. So again, that's another problem that I think we're seeing as a society that's leading to these really increased rates of skin cancer. The other one, which is so ironic and so paradoxical, and over 2,500 studies have seen a link between this, is a link between vitamin D deficiency and cancer. And there are studies out there that link skin cancer with decreased levels of vitamin D3. So how ironic is that? Because we're not exposing ourselves on a regular basis to the sun, we are at more risk for skin cancers, whereas people that are regularly exposing themselves to the sun are not as at high risk for at least melanomas. So vitamin D3 sulfate, which is produced by the sun in our bodies, is water soluble, as I mentioned before, which means it moves around the body and it is present in the skin. And what it does is it actually stops the ultraviolet rays from damaging the body. It's like a natural sun protection. The vitamin D3 that we take, which is fat soluble, researchers are unsure whether that vitamin D3 actually gets to the skin, and therefore we don't have that protection that we would have if we were exposing ourselves to the sun a little bit and making natural vitamin D. So I'm sure you can see exactly where this is heading, my suggestions anyways, but I'm not finished yet, because there's another thing that we're doing, and that this is so controversial. There's studies that, you know, claim sunscreen is really the only protective thing we can do against skin cancers. And then recently, very recently, there have been some studies that have said sunscreen is not the answer to protect us from harmful UV rays, because we do need to be protected from harmful UV rays, but what is the best solution? So what sunscreen does is often it blocks UVB rays. But the sun contains both UVB and UVA rays. When they are separated, which is what happens with many sunscreens, not all, UVA rays go into the skin and actually cause DNA damage, which can lead to cancer. So sunscreens can actually be harmful, and the Environmental Working Group has raised a flag at many ingredients in sunscreens, especially oxybenzone, which is like a big no-no. Some people still say it's okay, but I say, why use it, you know, when there's other things that you can use out there. So, and just on the whole sunscreen thing, there's a study published in 2016 in the Cochrane Review, which is a very reputable journal, and they say that sunscreen is not effective for the prevention of squamous cell carcinoma and basal cell carcinoma. And then just in 2018, this year, in the British Journal of Medicine, is that it? No, the British Journal of Dermatology, a study is published suggesting that sunscreen is not a preventative for melanoma either. So, God, it's like, what do you do, right? Because we've all been using sunscreen for so many years. That's kind of been seen to be like the first line measure against first line measure to protect ourselves from ultraviolet rays. So if that's not going to help us, what's going to help us? How are we going to survive in the sun? So I hope that this has not been too research heavy. And I just, you know what, I just wanted to share this all with you because the sun is such a contentious, controversial issue that I just dug deep into it. And I went and I like studied, pulled up, you know, a lot of different research because I wanted to be really clear on how to approach the sun properly. So here are my recommendations. This is what you need to do in order to love the sun and have the sun love you back, because we need the sun's love. We are not doing well without the sun. Let's just say that. Nothing's improving. You know, we've decided, no, we're protecting ourselves from the sun. We're wearing these big hats, slathering on sunscreen. You know, we're like new vampires, right? But we're not doing well without it. You know, it's not like skin cancer rates are going way down and we're feeling awesome. You know, so we have to find a way to enjoy the sun, because we're made to enjoy the sun, and protect ourselves at the same time. So what do I recommend? Number one, consume a diet, 80% fruits and vegetables. We need those foods, especially foods that have a high antioxidant value. I'm talking about berries, green tea, dark chocolate is a good one. If you're an acne patient, don't do the green tea and dark chocolate. But berries are one of the best foods that you can eat. Eat brightly colored fruits and vegetables. Basically, the best thing is to just eat the rainbow. 80% of your diet should consist of that, and you will really, you know, develop an internal SPF that will help protect you from the harmful UV rays. Number two, eliminate inflammation in the body. And what research is telling us now, the best way to eliminate inflammation is to heal your gut and balance your microbiome. So work on doing that. That's another step to really loving the sun and getting the most out of it and protecting yourself. The other thing, and I'm sure you saw this one coming, you have to make vitamin D in your own body, real vitamin D from the sun, not from a bottle. But you have to do this responsibly. You can't just go outside without any sunscreen for hours and hours. That's not the way to do it. And there is a really amazing way to do it, and it's using an app. And okay, you can either use an app or you can use your intuition. But if you're like a really precise person, there is an app out there. It's called D-Minder, and it will take into account the location that you're living in, the weather, your skin tone, and it puts all this information together, how much of your body is being exposed to the sun. It will tell you how long you need to stay out in the sun to make adequate vitamin D and to prevent burning. Because you want to prevent burning. You can't get burned, because that is a risk factor to, you know, getting skin cancer. But if you have all those antioxidants and no inflammation, you won't burn as easily. So check out the D-Minder app. If you don't want to use an app, then go outside for a little bit. You can increase the amount of time you're outside every single day to start off just a little bit. Full sun between 10 a.m. and noon. That's when vitamin D is made most efficiently in the body. So I can't wait to do this. I'm like gonna run outside as soon as it's sunny and just lie in the sun, both sides, expose as much skin as you can. But remember, you're not doing this for long and you're not getting burned. Now, one of the things this does is it creates melanin in your body when you're exposed to the sun. And what melanin does is it actually protects your body from UV radiation. So if you start doing this little by little in the spring, by the summer, you will have a nice base tan, lots of nice melanin, and the melanin reflects the UV damage. So you do not get UV damage if you have enough melanin. And that is what's happening with those workers that work outside all the time and that do not get melanoma. They do not get melanoma because they have a good base of melanin in their skin, and that is reflecting and protecting them from the UV rays. So it all makes sense, right? So make your own vitamin D, and also you can use botanical oils that have a natural SPF in them while you're lying out there making your vitamin D. Coconut oil, jojoba oil, sea buckthorn oil, red raspberry oil. Those are some oils that you can just put on your skin. It just, you know, helps make your skin juicy and get those melanin pigments to be really lovely on your skin without any damage to your skin. But then if you are going to spend a lot of time in the sun, you're at the beach, for instance, you do need to have sun protection. The best sun protection you can put on your skin is zinc oxide, non-nanoparticled. The zinc actually blocks and reflects the UV rays, so you will have complete protection from UV ray damage. But there's no nasty chemicals in a natural organic zinc oxide sunscreen that you have to worry about, so you can put it on. There are some that do not look like you're a ghost, so you can put it on and there's no white film. There are some amazing ones out there, and I will share those with you in the future. Or a big hat, you know, if you're going to be outside for a prolonged period of time. And then, because I'm me, and because I am kind of vain, you know, I do not want my skin to age, my face especially to age, so I always put a mineral powder on with about an SPF of 20. I will let the vitamin D be made from the neck down on my body. But my face, oh, I'm still protective of it. You know, having direct sun hit my face still, I can't quite stomach it because I guess I've just grown up in this culture of that for too long. So I always use a mineral powder on my face for sun protection, which is really simple, really natural. I love Jane Iredale. I've been using that for years, but I know there's a lot of really great brands out there now. So, you know, that's something we can talk about on Instagram this week as well. So those are my 6 steps / hints / suggestions to love the sun this summer. So I want you to get out there. I want you to lie in the sun. I want you to make your vitamin D and your serotonin and your nitric oxide. And I want the sun to recharge your batteries by increasing your ATP. I also want the sun to kill any microbes that are lingering in your body, any funguses, any parasites, any like bad stuff. I just want the sun to get rid of all of it for you. I want to love the sun this summer. I want us all to love the sun this summer. So, oh my God, are you like tired of hearing my voice yet? Because I'm tired of talking now. Enough of me. So, that being said, I'm working on my anti-aging program, which I am going to release very soon. If you have acne, you must join my 7-week Clear Skin program. This is the only way to get rid of your acne from the inside out. This works. This balances your entire body. I promise you will feel amazing. Check out my website, naturopathicbeauty.com. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram. I'm going to share some of my favorite sun stuff with you this week. And I'd love to hear from you as well. Let me know your experience with the sun. You know, I know that many people do not want to hear what I'm saying. But, you know, I really think it's important that we take back our power, that we learn the truth, and that we love the sun, because, you know, people are getting very, very ill because we're not exposing ourselves to the sun enough. So that's all for now. I will be back soon with another video. Have a fantastic week and enjoy the sun. Bye, guys.